What's up, everybody? It's your favorite time of the week. Another episode 82 of The Madness. We are your ministers of madness. Jessica Town, Rob Lange, and this show was a half a basketball away from having a much more depressed tone than I think it's going to have now. Now it's more of an angry tone for many, many, many reasons.
I have anger.
Jess is
angry.
Fired. Jess was angry after Saturday, and then she was probably a little happier after Monday, then just got really pissed in the last 24 hours. And we will talk about all of that here today over the next 2 hours. As always, The Madness is brought to you by ProSportsNotes.com, powered by WildfireRadio.com, where you can catch us every Friday morning, 9 to 11 a.m. Just go to WildfireRadio.com and click on Stream 1. You can also watch us live on YouTube if you go to the Pro Sports Notes channel. We are live right now. You can also watch any other episode we've had there. Follow us on Twitter at Philly_Madness. I'm just going to go through all of them right now.
Yep, go nuts.
Follow Jess at Run This Town with an E, 13. Follow us on Instagram, Philly_Madness. Facebook, Philly Madness or The Madness Podcast? The Madness Podcast.
So close.
So close. I'm 0 for 1. Shop.prosportsnotes.com. You get the shirt of Jess's favorite player of all time, who you're not allowed to say anything bad against.
No!
Ever.
No!
Never allowed to say anything. No, I'm just kidding with Jess. We'll get into that. Or you can get one of these, okay? This is the new shirt. I love it. I highly recommend getting it on the old school maroon. I think it is a good look. The letters are phenomenal. Big shout out to, can I call your mom Sean now? Is that
yes,
good?
You can call my mom.
Big shout out to Sean on this shirt because it is awesome. I thought it would be, and then when I got it, it was even better than I expected. So shop.prosportsnotes.com. Get over there.
Also, there is a sale going on today.
35% off, right?
35% off.
So get over there today. Today is the day.
Go get it.
To buy your Madness merchandise.
So you have something to wear to our party next week.
Yes. And that is the last thing I'm going to mention. We are 1 week and 1 day away from the first ever draft tailgate party down at the Wells Fargo lot. 5 to 7, followed by us heading into Xfinity Live to watch the draft, watch the Phillies, possibly Game 6 of the Sixers and Nets.
It's going to be a lot of
We really don't know what the heck's going to happen, so we're just going to go after it. We're just going to go after it. But a lot to talk about today, and I know initially we came in and said, look, we're going to talk more about the draft today, and we'll touch on the draft.
A lot of things happened.
But a lot of bad word happened.
Yeah.
Okay? If I should have my censor up on that one.
Get all the articles out
so,
that I need.
And that's with the Sixers. So because of that, I mean, look, me and Jess could talk about it as long as we wanted. But at the end of the day, we love bringing in people who we respect in this area, talking about sports. And it just so happens that it's going to be a 97.5 The Fanatic morning show type of day today.
Yeah.
In about 5 minutes or so.
I don't hate that type of day.
Not at all. It's a great day. In about 5 minutes or so, we're going to hear from the lead host, Marc Farzetta, the busiest man in the city.
Seriously?
He is literally everywhere and still gracious enough to give us a few minutes of his time today to talk all things Sixers. Maybe we'll squeeze a Phillies question in there too or something like that. Because I know that he said this morning that he believes Scott Kingery needs to start every day. And judging off the fact that Scott Kingery has already hit a home run again today, yeah, let's go. I'm all for that at this moment.
Well, we know why he's not starting. They're trying to dangle Cesar and make him do something so someone will want him.
Somebody else just scored. The Phillies. Cesar adds to the lead in the sixth with his second home run of the year.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you, Cesar.
Please do it so we can.
All right.
We can continue.
3-0 Phillies in the bottom of the sixth. Arrieta's only thrown 76 pitches today through 6.
Killing it.
So that's big stuff right there. But anyway, yeah, Marc Farzetta is going to join us here in a few minutes. Later on in the show, obviously the big story in our area is the article that Chris Sheridan of the New York Daily News put out, kind of saying that Brett Brown's headed toward NBA coaching purgatory, and Ben Simmons is a bad egg, and Elton Brand wants to trade him, and Joel Embiid tried to fight Bruce Bowen. You name it was in this article.
You name it, I'm over it.
And it's all from a source.
Markel Fultz.
Under anonymity.
Markel Fultz.
And it just seems...
I will go to my grave swearing that it's Markel Fultz.
And you know, he says in the past is some of it true, maybe, but not, I don't believe all of it. But we're going to bring on someone who covered the Sixers for a very long time, now talks about them on 97.5 The Morning Show, and that's Bob Cooney. Will come on and kind of give us a journalist's perspective on this whole thing, because he had a lot to say today, and he was very critical of Chris Sheridan and how he went about writing this article. Not necessarily that he wrote the article, but how he went about it.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to Bob probably in the second hour there, his thoughts on that and everything. So... 1-1, Jess.
Yeah.
Series is maybe not what we wanted it to be.
It is now.
But it is what it is. It's 1-1. It's probably going to be a bit of a dogfight. I wouldn't expect any more 145 to 120 games where all your starters are on the bench for the entire fourth quarter. But, you know, I look at that second game, and I can only come to one conclusion, Jess.
Yeah.
The Sixers pay attention to me on Twitter. Because after game one, I ripped Brett Brown for the first time ever. Said I'm on the side that I don't believe he can get it done. And then at halftime, I said this is a disgraceful first half.
Yep,
they better find some life. And both Brett Brown and the Sixers responded. So it's very clear, Jess. You're welcome, Philadelphia. I got them to win the game. You're welcome.
I can't believe you would take any sort of credit for that.
I'm taking all the credit, not sort of credit. I'm taking it all. Okay, because I'm known as a cooler. Whatever I say, the opposite happens. I ripped Brett Brown. He ripped the team.
Yeah,
Hasn't done that yet.
I know that you typically end up being on the side of, that I was wrong. There are a few instances where we're going to talk about later how wrong you are today. We talked about it briefly during our lunch meeting today. But
I want to know what I said I was wrong about.
It has to do with the Phillies.
Oh, I wasn't wrong about anything. Stop it.
My favorite. It's my favorite. I'll go back and find it.
Hey, neither one of those guys have done anything yet.
You telling me Zach Eflin hasn't done anything yet?
Yeah, he's been okay. He got pretty shelled the other night.
He's pitched better than Nola.
He got shelled the other night.
By
the Miami Marlins.
The entire team did.
I'm just saying.
They were a mess.
I'm just saying.
But anyway, so yeah. The first game was not great. I didn't get a chance to watch it live. I was at my brother's lacrosse game, so I was keeping up with it on my phone, watching things when I could, and then I rewatched it, through the duration of the weekend to really pay attention, take some notes, and make sure I was well informed writing my article about Ben Simmons. But
get to wildfireradio.com.
Check out that article. It's a good one. I don't have the energy to fight with anybody else anymore, but it's a good one.
Listen, I have watched you in Twitter battles over this year that we have been together. You were crazy.
Yeah. I can be crazy.
Yeah. All right. Right now, though, we're going to bring on somebody that I think we both aspire to be, Jess. And that is the busiest guy that there is in the Philadelphia sports scene, Mr. Marc Farzetta from 97.5 The Morning Show. Marc, thank you for giving us what few minutes of your day you probably have.
I was told this was going to be a 3-hour phone interview, so I budgeted the time.
Well, that's Jess. Jess likes to embellish a bit. We just let her go, No,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Absolutely.
Well, Marc, obviously the big topic right now is the Sixers, and which is crazy with the draft a week away. That's normally what's on our minds. But I'm curious, before we get into the article and everything else, what is your state of mind on the Sixers now, as I feel a lot of people have gone all the way as low as can be to all the way as high as can be in a matter of 48 hours?
In a matter of 48 hours, game one, I was like, oh, my God, they're going to lose in the first round. This is abysmal. And then some very smart-minded Sixers fans booed the crap out of the team, and they decided to pick it up because obviously they needed some motivation. It's sad but true, and true because of what Ben Simmons, we know what he said after game two. Game 2, right back to exactly where I was before the playoffs started, which was the Sixers are going to get bounced out of the second round of the playoffs, unfortunately. But they will beat the Nets, so that part's still good. So I still have the Sixers making the second round, but they don't go any further than that.
So you obviously touched on the booze. It's been a huge topic of conversation since then, and I know I've been vocal on Twitter about my opinions about it. Several other people have. So your opinion, you just said, very smart-minded Sixers fans. When it comes to all the booze after missed shots in the third quarter, what do you think? What is your opinion on all of the booze that came out of Saturday?
Anytime a fan base boos their team, an athlete should only take it as, I know you're right, I need to get my you-know-what together. That's the only way they should take it. Malcolm Jenkins, and I've referenced this on the show, Malcolm Jenkins, after the first half that the Eagles played, after winning the Super Bowl in the Thursday night opener this past football season, Malcolm Jenkins said, yeah, I would have booed us too. That's good. The fans deserve better than that. That's how every athlete should take it. It's not a personal thing. It's a matter of getting your game together to present better to the fans, so you play better. It's meant nothing more than to be motivational, or at least, hey, you're not pulling this off on us. You can't BS us. And the fans respond with boos. I'm 100% for it. Now, I would never tell anyone you have to boo. That's up to the person, but each individual fan. But when it's a stadium full of 21,000 people to watch a Sixers game, and they know that the Sixers can play a lot better than what they played in Game 1, then by all means, if a boo is the proverbial kick in the ass they need, by all means, let the boos rain down.
Yeah, I'm with you. That me and Jess kind of discussed that earlier, and I think that the booing, look, and I know it's a cliche argument. The fans pay the money to be there. The key thing is they don't want to be told by their athletes what you can do and can't do when they're paying to come see you, and you gotta be okay with that to a certain extent. And I said Jimmy Butler's answer was the only way that should have been answered after the game.
Absolutely, it's the same tone as Malcolm Jenkins.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, we deserve that. You're absolutely right. That's the way it needs to go. When fans speak out like that, the only thing you could ever say about the fan base as an athlete is how great they are and how you need to play better in front of them. That's the only thing you could ever say. If you ever decide to criticize a fan base, that is what you call a lose situation.
Yeah, and, I think that part of, the difference between his answer, Joel's answer, and then Jimmy Butler's answer is just the fact that Ben Simmons still a 22-year-old kid. He's still, in his second year playing in the league, trying to get it all figured out. And, that was, I think, I understand why he said it, but I think that was an immature answer. And, that'll come with time. But, Ben, do you think that, after that, the way he performed on Monday in Game 2, do you think that we're going to continue to see that same high level out of him? Or do you think that, he only played that way to shut some people up?
No, because he'll hear it again. That's the thing. It's not like we run out of booze. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Never.
Well, sometimes you run out of booze, you're at a party that gets lame. But in terms of booing, we don't run out of that ability, fortunately for us. No, he will hear it again if he decides to look lethargic or lackadaisical, like pretty much the whole team did. And it wasn't like Ben Simmons was being singled out. It was the entire Sixers team that was being booed. I know he's the guy that has become the lightning rod of the conversation because of what he had to say after the game. But he wasn't the only one that was getting those boos. It was everybody on the team. Now, if Ben and the rest of the team decide to kick it into anything less than the high gear that we saw in Game 2, then yeah, guess what? More of those boos will rain down.
We're talking with the great Marc Farzetta. Marc, another lightning rod for this team all season, and you guys have had to deal with it because you're that morning show, the morning after games all year is Brett Brown. And people kind of misunderstand your guys' feelings on Brett and all those things and call you guys apologists. I was an apologist. I was on this hill ready to die by myself, and then after Game 1, I came flying off of the hill, which of course was probably a little reactionary by me, which happens. But I'm curious because it's been said now lately, and obviously in this Chris Sheridan article that we're going to talk about, that players aren't listening to Brett. Do you see that as being the cause of all of this?
No, absolutely not. I I don't see this as a Brett Brown has lost the locker room, and I know that was one of the big points in the article, that Brett Brown has lost the locker room. Well, if you lose the locker room with all these different stars, how do you win 51 games? Mm-hmm. If you lose the locker room, how do you go into a locker room at halftime of a 1-point playoff game when you already were terrible in game one? How do you go into that locker room as a coach that's lost it, ream those players out, and then you answer with the single greatest quarter of basketball in 76ers history? Like, you don't just bounce back from that once a coach that somehow you don't respect anymore came in and chewed you out. And then after the game, you decide to give that head coach credit and tell the media that he's the guy that came in there in the locker room and lit the fire. If you lost the locker room, that storyline doesn't exist. That's why that is just, it makes no sense to me. I'm not saying that anyone made up anything. It just makes zero sense to apply any form of logic to that theory.
So I think this is just another one of those, ridiculous Joe Santoliquito articles where, there's some truth behind it. There has to be some truth and something to back up all the different points that were made at different points. But I just think that a lot of it was taken to enormous extremes, with, Ben being uncoachable and, just throwing shots in there that just seemed extreme and unnecessary, like, pointing in exactly why his free throws aren't good and things like that. What are your thoughts on the article as a whole? Like, do you kind of feel the same way, or when it comes to the different, accusing him of being hungover, and what are your thoughts on the article in its entirety?
Well, I actually made the same kind of analogy where I said that how is this different than the Joe Santoliquito story on Philly Voice a couple of months back about Carson Wentz? And yeah, there's some things in there, a lot of the same tone, it seemed like, but the article on Philly Voice about Carson Wentz never said that Howie Roseman was going to try to trade Carson Wentz because of this. Mm-hmm. And it never accused Carson Wentz of being drunk. That's why I thought this article was a lot more kind of vicious to character than the one about Carson Wentz. And the reason being is because the Carson Wentz story wasn't that hard to believe. Alpha male, young athlete, alienates a few teammates because he's focused on getting better and trying to get healthy. Like that storyline's not that hard to believe. The storyline that is hard to believe is Elton Brand trying to trade 2 first overall picks in 6 months of being a GM for the first time in his life. Mm-hmm. This story was just unbelievable to me. There were a couple of obvious things in there about, Brett Brown loses the first round, he's going to get fired. Okay, right. There's a big scoop there. If Brett Brown loses in the second round, he'll at least make it to the team bus before he's fired. All right, not that big of a surprise. Those were things that were very believable about the story because we've all been saying that since really, depending on your level of admiration or hatred towards Brett Brown at some point over the last couple of years. But this story just seemed to be a reach when talking about the idea of trading Ben Simmons, when talking about, Jess, as you mentioned, the fact he won't bend his knees for a foul shot. All right, nitpicking a little bit there.
Right.
And then talking about this team not being able to respond to their own head coach when they literally, again, just did that with 51 points in a quarter. So my overall takeaway of the story was not that Chris Sheridan just made it up out of thin air. I never want to accuse a journalist of any sort of that because that's so damning. But I will say whoever he talked to clearly had an agenda and an axe to grind here and let out a lot of information that the 76ers have already denied. And Dave Schaller, who's the public relations director for the 76ers, responded to the article being tweeted out by Chris Sheridan, just shooting it down and calling it a steaming pile of trash. So I don't know what more you want from that, but I think that the Sixers have addressed it as much as they need to. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of this story was pushed by somebody's agenda that is just not based in reality.
Marc Fultz.
Yes. Jamie is on to something with that.
We suspected it. We suspected the same thing.
Jamie and I agree on a lot, and this is absolutely at the top of the list.
Absolutely. That'll be fun phone calls to take tomorrow for you.
There you go.
Marc, you talk about Chris Sheridan, and here's the thing right now. He's been all over Twitter over the last hour kind of defending himself, saying my sources have been 100% on the money in the past. People follow the NBA knows. But then he has this one that he puts out more later, y'all, To me, you lose credibility when you put something like that out. What is possessing him right now to continue with this rather than just letting the story be what it is?
More attention, more clicks.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys do your podcast, you guys do your show. It's it's more to come. Those are great words to have, whether you're writing, whether you're doing a show, a radio show, TV show, whatever. More to come means, don't leave. Don't hit that dial.
Yeah.
That's all that is. So if he's implying that there's more to come, then he wants to keep people at attention so they know to watch his Twitter feed for the next story, so they click the hell out of it.
So game 3 tomorrow night, going up to Brooklyn, tied 1-1. They no longer have, not on their home floor anymore. This article comes out, and then another report came out a little bit ago that actually Kendall and Ben have also broken up. Where do you see this going tomorrow?
Yes.
No, wait, I didn't see that.
Terez Owens has tweeted it.
I saw it.
That has been confirmed that Ben and Kendall are no more.
All right, I'm gonna text my wife and tell her it's over. I'm gonna pursue Kendall.
So with all this, what's gonna happen? What happens tomorrow, in your opinion?
Oh, what happens in the basketball, not in the love
the basketball game.
Well, both. Both. I mean,
whatever you want to give us.
Miss Cusi. But despite my many advances on social media, Kendall hasn't responded. But whatever. No, I think, bottom line, basketball, back to that. So they win. That is bottom line. They're going to win their first game away from home. They're going to win this series. I don't know if it'll be something as simple as a 5-game series where they win the next 3 in a row here, but I do feel like they will use this momentum in game 3 in Brooklyn to get that win. There might be a little bit of a lull, but I would be surprised if they didn't get those next 3 in a row to take this series. But at the same time, Brooklyn is a very good team. The Sixers have struggled so long with guard play. If they get one more out of this, I wouldn't be just flat out pass out shocked. But the Sixers, I believe, have hit that moment that we've been waiting for since Tobias Harris was added to this roster, where you go into the playoffs only having this starting 5, this unit playing together for 10 games. This team is only going to get better the longer they're able to play together. So I don't see them really hitting a lull. Maybe they'll have a game where they're ice cold with shots or whatever and they're just not falling. But I think this is going to be the new level for the Sixers. This was their win that they needed with this starting 5 playing together in their 12th game only. This is the win I think they needed, where maybe that moment we've been waiting for things to click with this starting 5 and the rest of this team. Maybe this is that moment, that game 2. Maybe it was the moment where it finally all started to make sense. The chemistry started to come together, and these guys figured out finally how to play with one another.
Marc Farzetta. You can catch him every morning, 6 to 10 on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm sure regardless of the outcome of the game, you're going to have some fun with some of the calls you get, because you guys have to handle calls from every end of the spectrum in that in that 4-hour time slot, man. It's crazy.
I am not even getting into this business to not have fun. So, yeah.
Well, listen, Marc, we really appreciate giving us a few minutes. And one day when you're actually calm, Jess and I want to take you out, get you a few drinks, and have a little fun together.
Oh, Jack Daniels on the rocks, guys. Thanks. Anytime.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for joining us, Marc.
My pleasure, guys. Have a good one.
All right. That is Marc Farzetta from 97.5.
I love him.
He's awesome. And
great.
We make jokes about it, like how busy he is, but he literally is all over the place.
His text to me today, so I texted him and just said, hey, any chance you're around today, sometime between 3 and 5, to call in as a guest. 3 and 5.
Well, you are young.
To talk a little bit about this Ben Simmons, Brett Brown article. He goes, yeah, that'll work just fine. Text me a little before. I'm at NBC just running around.
Yeah,
Same. Me too.
Well, I saw on Twitter earlier Michael Barkan taking pictures of him making an espresso for Michael Barkan.
Big espresso guy. He's a big espresso guy.
Why didn't I say something? I love espresso.
Every time I see him, I'm like, have you slept today? Are you tired?
When you're as busy as he is.
Because there was one day when I was at the media day for Army Navy. I listened to him in the morning on my way to work, and then I left, and I was talking to the players and whatnot, and then all of a sudden Farzetta walks in, and I'm like, do you sleep? Like, what? And he was like, no, I drink a lot of espresso, and that's how I get through my day. like, all right, Marc. Whatever.
Good for him. I mean, I was going to say, with as busy as his schedule is, how can he not drink espresso like all day long?
Or 7 Red Bulls. Like, it's insane.
Or 7 Red Bulls.
We should get him onto Mati Energy. I'll tell my dad about that.
What is
it's
that?
An energy drink that my dad is invested in. My company does advisory work for as well. It's an all-natural energy drink. Mati? M-A-T-I. It's an energy drink, and it's all natural. It's not... So it's not going to stop your heart like the Red Bull. Yeah, and you're not going to crash after because it's natural caffeine. It's not sugar and all that extra. Yeah, and there's a bunch of different flavors.
Where can you get it?
Amazon.
Look, I'm like, here's
Amazon.
the thing.
You can order on Amazon.
I am consistently exhausted. Partially.
You're also going to have a new child soon, so it wouldn't be a bad idea.
Mati, M-A-T-I.
Yeah.
I got to get on that.
And it's natural, so I think it would be okay for Alyssa to have 2 right after she has the baby if she's
forget.
Okay, well, that's a turn. That's not where I thought that was going to go.
Yeah, by the way, that's going to really... So that'll be right around the training camp time. So, God, I can only imagine what my This Is Madness is going to be for about a month. From the end of July to the end of August. It's literally going to have to do with 3 a.m. feedings and diaper changes and having 2 4-year-olds attack me while I'm trying to take care of a 2-week-old.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. I'm excited.
Let's get back to basketball. Although we could talk about Marc and his attempts at Kendall. Good luck. Godspeed.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
May the odds be ever in your favor, sir.
I hope your wife doesn't hate you.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm in the same boat as Marc. I think they're going to win this series. I said it even after game 1. I still said Sixers in 6. I still think they win the series. I still think they go in and play Toronto in the second round. And I still believe they lose to Toronto in the second round. Now comes the big question with me, Jessica.
Yeah.
I called you Jessica. That's how you know this is serious.
Yeah, I know this is serious. I know.
She knows this is so serious. She has not looked up from her phone.
I'm sorry. I'm posting about our show.
She is a multitasker, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you want to talk about...
I don't know how to pronounce this. My mom just texted me the leaf that the natural caffeine comes from.
Ah.
I forget. I don't know how to say it.
So it's a leaf.
It's a leaf.
All right. So it's vegetables. That's how I get my vegetables. That's not a vegetable in any way. It's just something green. And when you don't eat vegetables,
where the natural sugar and caffeine comes from.
Yeah, that too. That's what I was thinking.
So it's not gonna bring you get you all jittery and then make your heart race and then crash you.
That's good.
Yeah,
Can you mix it with vodka? Because I used to like to do that with Red Bull.
Times.
I was a big
Tito's,
Red Bull
Monty
vodka.
and Tito's.
Matitos.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die. Let's bring that to the tailgate party next week.
We're gonna bring Kiel vodka.
We are gonna go.
That's another Kiel. It's another company that we do work for.
Someone asked me the other day, what does Jess do? And I said,
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And now I still don't know. What are you marketing?
No, we're a search firm, an executive search firm.
Executive search firm.
So I'm working on a search for them right now to place somebody in their company. But,
yeah?
But they have all different kinds of, they're in all different places.
Where are they located?
Providence.
They don't have anything around here?
No.
Can't give you a resume for them?
They're in Davio's. Have you been to Davio's? It's an Italian steakhouse.
I know Davio's. I've never been in Davio's.
Davio's, Capitol Grill.
I'm not a steak guy.
You're so weird. They have different cocktails in Aisha Curry's Miami location for international smoke. They're in a couple different hotels.
Okay.
They're in
Did you boomerang me?
Yeah. One of their co-owners or co-founders is Matt Light, who was a left tackle for the Patriots.
For the Patriots.
So they're in Gillette Stadium on tap. They're in Mile High. So, But anyway.
It's a violation.
You can say it's a violation.
You cannot boomerang someone who doesn't like boomerang.
I just did it.
God damn it.
But anyway, so yeah, we'll bring some Kiel vodka.
All right, sounds good to me. Well, but yeah, no, I do believe, getting back to what we're actually here to do, and that's talk sports. I do believe.
Is it?
We are going to, although we will have our This Is Florida segment.
4:30.
4:30, that's coming? All right, so that'll be after.
Twist.
That'll be Bob Cooney. Yep. That'll be after Bob Cooney, not Bob. Cooney. Bob's not giving us the Florida information.
Bob's not going to give us the This Week in Florida.
No, he will not do that. I can't see them losing this series because what you saw in game 2 was they're just better. And I said this.
When they're playing to the standards that they should.
Right. But I put this tweet out there. And look, this is probably the first season in my entire life where I will say I watched at least 75 games this year. Maybe more. I know I missed a couple for certain odds, certain events. But for the most part, I watched every game of this team. And I feel like when you watch every game of a team, it doesn't make you an expert. But I feel like I've seen their tendencies. And I believe that this is a team that is all about getting on a roll. Okay? And what you saw was when a couple shots started to fall and they got a couple stops, it was like a waterfall. All of a sudden, the guys who couldn't hit a shot, Tobias, Mike Scott, JJ, everything was going in. Everything. And so what they need to do is get on these runs. And honestly, I know that they were scoring, but the defensive intensity in the beginning of that second half
was insane.
And then what happened? Then the Nets started to press a little bit. Now they're forcing the shots a little bit quicker. They're pushing the shots rather than shooting them with good form and good rotation and all that stuff. And before you knew it, it was done. It was over.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I absolutely agree. And, my biggest issue of the weekend has been, the people getting on Ben Simmons and, no one wants to.
That was your issue? I didn't even know that was an issue for you.
No one. Well, because here's my thing. It's the hypocritical aspects of it, right? Like, I have a giant problem with booing in the third quarter when shots are getting missed, even though sometimes it takes until the final seconds of a game to win it. Like, think about, they were down 18 going into the fourth quarter against the Celtics. Mm-hmm. They won that game.
Were they down 18?
They were down 18.
Were they really?
Yeah.
I was unaware of that.
No, you know what? I'm not sure if they were down 18 in the fourth quarter.
They were down 18.
They were down 18. Okay. They were down going into the fourth quarter.
Remember the first half against Indiana in that big Sunday afternoon game?
Yeah.
They were down at the half. They were playing terrible.
Yeah.
The Bucks. It took them a couple minutes to get themselves going against the Bucks.
Right. So so my issue is not with booing when the Nets take a wide open three, get a long rebound because no one moves or tries, and then they get another wide open three. I support that boo wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. I support booing them off the court at the end of the game. I support booing poor effort. When they miss a shot, when they run the full offensive set and the shot doesn't go in, I feel like as a fan who's not on the floor, never having played an NBA game, I just think that's wrong. Personally, that's my personal view on it. Yeah. And I'm a big supporter of the boo. I've said I think the athletes that thrive here are the ones that respect the boo.
I know you love booing Donovan Mitchell. I know you love booing yourself to Donovan Mitchell.
Hate that guy. As Marc was saying, Malcolm Jenkins, they deserve that at halftime. Missing shots when you're within 11 and there's an entire quarter to play still, I think that's crap.
Yeah,
quite honestly.
I think what it plays to.
And people were jumping all over me because they're like, Philly fans boo. It's what we do. And I'm like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have booed. They deserve to get booed. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying that in the fashion that it happened at some points, I didn't like and I disagreed with. And so that's why I said I understand why Ben said what he said. I don't agree with it, but I get why he said it. So when people want to act that way and then are like, we need to trade Ben Simmons, I need you to keep that same energy with Tobias Harris and JJ Redick. Yeah, Tobias Harris and JJ Redick are supposed to be our scorers. Ben Simmons is not supposed to be a scorer. And you go out and get somebody like Tobias Harris, already have JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid. You're going to tell me that you're upset that Ben Simmons isn't scoring when he scored the same amount of points as two of your shooters combined? That is crap.
As you can tell, Jess has been mad about this.
I'm upset.
But look, the trade, Ben, is an overreaction. The booing every shot is probably a bit much. I'm not as hell-bent saying that as you are, which is fine. I totally get.
We're on similar pages with
I totally get your point. But what it speaks to what I have said all year, Jess, the unrealistic expectations of this fan base. which baffles my mind. When you talk about a fan base, right, that went through the process and was as patient as any fan base in the history of sports, now it's like they lived and died off every game out of an 82-game season. Every single loss was the coach's fault. Every time, and then they would just find one thing to harp on. If they lost 2 in a row, Ben's not shooting well. If Embiid turns the ball over, how dominant is he? It's this idea that we get in our heads. Look, the fact of the matter is, and Jess, you put this in your article, and it's true. A lot of guys take 5 or 6 years to really reach that point. And I'll say this. We all forget because of how great he has been throughout most of his career, and he was very good early. LeBron James was not what LeBron James is.
LeBron James was not a shooter.
In the first 2 or 3 years.
He wasn't a shooter. And people want to pretend that that's like not important.
And people want to say you're making an excuse when you talk about how young they are. Your 2 stars are 22 and 24.
I just want to... Have you ever met a 22-year-old boy?
I was one.
Okay. I'm dating one that's 1 year out of it.
You didn't expect that answer, did you?
No, I'm with you. I have a 20-year-old brother. My boyfriend's 23. Like, they're stupid. They're really stupid and immature. Like, you throw this kid into this world. He was 19 on draft day. 19.
This men's batching session has been brought to you by Jessica Town and All-Star. Shop.prosportsnotes.com.
Anyway.
See that? I created an ad and we don't even have an advertiser yet.
That was great. I just think that people put too much stock in these 20-year-olds and they're like, oh, well, they're in the NBA. They need to grow up. No. You're not going to speed up the development
they need to grow up, but in their own time.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
You stop taking shots at the male.
But people just like you know they put them on this pedestal when like they're human too. I understand that they're making a lot of money. I understand that it's different. Like I understand the differences, but there's a level of there's a level of like give and take. And my biggest issue is, like I said, it's hypocritical. That's my problem. You can't have it both ways. We talked about this earlier. Ben has a triple-double. He's, they're empty triple-doubles. He doesn't, have a triple-double and it's, oh, well, he's overrated. Joel has a dominant game. He should be MVP. Joel has too many turnovers in a game. Oh, well, he's maybe not as dominant as we thought. How good is he? We should get AD instead. Like, you can't have it both ways. You have to pick one side. We talked about this with Bryce Harper, too. When the, Nationals fans were, moaning and crying about him taking more money to go somewhere else, but then he strikes out and they chant he's overrated. You can't have it both ways. Pick a slant. Stay with it. Just
to break off of this for a minute. Jake Arrieta coming out to the mound in the top of the 9th inning, looking for his first complete game. Since, what's that say? Since our first Phillies complete game since September of 17.
Awesome.
So hopefully get done. He's given up 1 run. He gave up a home run in the 8th. So it's 3-1, and we'll keep you updated. For those of you that decided watching the Madness was more important than watching the Phillies, which would be ridiculous, but I love the support. Yeah, I think the Sixers, and this is kind of why I keep saying, even though I sent out my tweet and I fell off the hill and all that stuff about Brett Brown, and I do have my doubts about him. I do, more so than ever before. But that's why I keep saying that you don't just fire him if they lose in the second round.
You fire him if he's lost them.
If he's lost them, or if they get swept and lose each game by 20, fine. But be careful with overreactions. Be careful. I don't know why this fan base turned that way. And you know what it is? It's almost because it was the people.
Overreaction.
Yes.
Be careful when going towards overreactions.
Over the course of the process, the people that, like us, that knew what they were doing and were all for it and continued to be fans can be logical. But there's a lot of people who can't. They just jumped on and now they're like, oh, what is this? Just relax.
Now, I think a big part of this is, they made these trades. 3 out of 5 of their starters are, free agents this summer have expiring contracts. Guys on their bench that we love so much, Mike Scott, Boban, they have expiring contracts.
No more complete game.
Gone.
Well, apparently what happened was somebody got an infield single, and they brought in, who is now pitching. It looks like, why you're not showing me the picture here?
Okay, well, I'm going to keep talking.
You keep talking. Sorry. I just want to give you that.
Great. And I think the reason Ben Simmons has been so over harshly criticized is because of the process. As a Sixers fan, yes, I agree. I'm tired of being patient. I'm tired of being told to wait. And, everyone's getting increasingly impatient because, Elton Brand said, the goal is the NBA Finals and they think they can do it with this roster. Joel Embiid's long-term health is in question based on, his knees.
Yes, it is. 3
out of the 5 starters, Jimmy, Tobias, and JJ all have expiring contracts this summer. Everyone's getting this feeling that the time is now or never, and that is in turn leading them to, rush Ben Simmons' development, demand that he hit his full potential at 22 years old, and that's not fair to a 22-year-old kid who's only in his second season in the NBA.
Well,
it's not.
No, it's not.
Number one pick or not.
But the people that sit there and go, well, the time is now because of this, and this. Well, let's take a couple things into consideration here. One, even if Joel Embiid's long-term health is in question, the next 4 years are probably not. Probably not. 2, they're going to sign at least Jimmy or Tobias. With right now, if I were to set, I have it at about a 95% chance that Jimmy Butler is signing a max contract and staying here. I don't even think it's in question. I think all of this is just created from the outside. I think he loves it here. I think he likes the team. I think he likes Brett. And I'm going to talk to Bob Cooney about this when he calls in, because I know that Brett and Jimmy talk all the time. Brett gives Jimmy free reign to talk whenever he wants. So you're not going to lose all those guys.
No.
Losing JJ may not be the worst thing if you replace him with someone who could shoot well,
and play defense.
but play defense.
Clay, where you at, brother?
Yeah, I don't know if he's coming to the East Coast. But,
no, he's not. But a girl can dream, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Klay Thompson,
I'm just saying
in a
that
Sixers
it's not
jersey, adding to Joel Embiid,
oh my God.
Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler is everything
I'm just saying right now, I don't think it's the end all be all this year, and we need to stop looking at it that way.
No, I agree, and I just think that the fact that I don't understand why the problem is only put on Ben Simmons. Does Ben Simmons need to perform better? The same way he did in game 2 for them to be successful? Sure. But if Tobias and JJ don't continue to step themselves up and the bench doesn't give you anything, it doesn't matter what Ben does. Keep in mind, in that first game, we talked about this, but I'm going to put it out there as well. In game 1, couple things.
This, by the way, can be read by you at wildfireradio.com. This is Jess's article about Ben Simmons.
You should read it. It's pretty good.
Basically her stance on the whole thing.
And
do me a favor. Don't just read the title.
Don't just read the title and then attack me on social media.
Go read the damn article.
I will end you.
Listen, all right, she talks a big game. Once again, as we said to Marc, we let Jess embellish a little bit. She's not going to end you in any way.
Oh, I will.
No, you're not.
No, but if you come at me with a bunch of crap after reading the title and not actually reading it, you're. Do you know how many people stopped answering?
There were quite a few times where I had hit the reply button to one of your very angry tweets and started to type and then said, nah, I'm not going to do this to her right now. She's too fired up. This is not going to end well.
And I'll tell you more stories about them off air as well.
Oh.
So anyway, at the 7.5-minute mark in the second quarter of game 1, the Nets had made 8 threes to the Sixers 1. So it was 8 for 12 and 1 for 12. So the shots weren't falling. And even Jimmy Butler, who ended with 36 points, only started hitting shots in the second quarter. And in the third quarter as well, he also only had 4 points in the fourth. So closer, yeah. Granted, he had 36, which, carried the team to be as close as they were. But, let's keep in mind that shots weren't falling. Additionally, going into halftime, the Nets bench accounted for 35 of the team's 62 points, compared to the Sixers' 16 out of 54. And at the end of the game, the Nets bench had 59 points compared to the Sixers' 26.
Whereas, look at the difference between game 1 and game 2. Boban and Mike Scott both were in double figures. James Ennis
Played
was
really
huge.
well.
I mean, look, that's the other thing you have to take into consideration for game one. Jonathan Simmons was playing the minutes that James Ennis did.
Jonathan Simmons was playing major playoff minutes.
But
that is a problem.
I will say, look, we all have said, and I've even said it, that Brett Brown does not make great adjustments. You want to see the adjustments he made? No TJ till garbage time. No Jonathan Simmons till garbage time. He shortened the bench. It was Boban. It was Mike Scott. It was James Ennis. Nobody else until that game was out of hand.
And it was one at a time.
Yes.
It was one at a time. It wasn't 3 and 4 at a time, which was huge.
He made the right decisions there. Sometimes, even though it was one at a time, I don't like when he has all 3 bench guys out there at the same time.
Sure.
And he still has that lineup in his repertoire. Did you like that one?
I did.
Okay. But I don't like that. I only like 1 or 2 of the subs being out. I get it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have all 3 out there, it can't be with Ben and JJ, where you have a really big liability on defense and JJ and Ben, who's not going to shoot the ball.
Right.
You know, you have to, if that's out there, do it with Ben and Joel, or Jimmy and Joel, or something along the. Obviously, you're not going to do that because Boban and Joel will not be on the floor at the same time.
Oh God, can you imagine? They just stand there in front of the rim. Like
Ben and Tobias, or Jimmy and Tobias. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I
your
agree.
Your bench isn't that strong.
No.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not.
No.
That's what this offseason should be.
Oh, 100%. And I just think that, you know, and you know, I realized how valid my article was when, you know, they go out there in game 2. Ben comes out.
It's really funny the way you put that. I realized how valid my article was.
Well, do you want to know why?
Yeah, I know. It's just funny.
Okay. So I'm going to finish a sentence without getting cut off this time. Thanks.
Maybe.
So I realized, you know, just you know, the ridiculous level that it had gotten to when, you know, they come out in game 2, they, you know, shots are falling, they are aggressive, they're playing good defense, they're fighting through every single screen. You know, Ben has his triple-double in the third quarter, you know, things like that. And someone calls in to the radio the next morning and says, I don't want to nitpick, but in the third quarter, you know, he had that big first half, but they scored 51 points and Ben only had 2. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? They scored 51 points and Ben Simmons only had 2. That's how it should be, people. That's how it should be.
You're yelling.
Yeah, I am. Because that's how it should be. That's why we brought him here. To not have to score. He doesn't have to. That's the point. We're supposed to have enough other shooters on this team. JJ Redick, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid, Mike Scott. We're supposed to have enough other people that can score the basketball so Ben Simmons does not have to make that his priority. Does he need to develop a jump shot, improve on his truth? Yes, absolutely. But he doesn't need to do that right now for them to be successful. He doesn't need to do that right now for them to be successful in this playoff run. He doesn't. Everyone else needs to do their job, and he needs to do his as well. Does he need to do it better than he did it in game 1? Yes, but I still don't think it was at that level that everyone else thinks it was. You know,
No,
think about he got knocked down on one end of the floor, ran the entire length of the floor with his head down, and blocked a 3-point shot in the corner. In the furthest point from where he was standing when he got up off the floor after being knocked down on the opposite end. To send that 3-point shot into the stands. Like, I just don't understand why some people have this extreme level of, you know,
because they don't like the.
I don't get it, dude.
They don't like the stone-faced player. They don't like the guy that doesn't show a lot of emotion. They don't like the guy that just goes about his business and averages close to triple doubles, and in the playoffs is like 15, 10, and 8, and you know. I mean, they don't look at that. They just look. And this is kind of hypocritical because I'm always saying you got to trust your eye test. Well, sometimes the eye test goes beyond just on the surface.
Right.
And people can't do that.
Like, let's where is it? In this, one of the biggest things that I had a problem with in this article dying, was by Joe Santoliquito too. This is a paragraph that says the situation has been in flux ever since, with the Sixers' shoddy performances drawing boos from the home crowd after Game 1. A dynamic that went away in Game 2 after the Sixers produced a 51-point third quarter and defeated the Nets 145-123 to even the series at a game apiece. But there's more to the story than many people know. A source who spoke to the Daily News on condition of anonymity said general manager Elton Brand made it known to ownership sometime before the trade deadline. Rob, remind me when the trade deadline was?
February.
Great. That the organization needed to consider trading Simmons because the youngster was simply not coachable and was a regular season player annually exposed in the playoffs. So this was at the trade deadline, which was when again?
February.
And at that point, how many times had Ben Simmons played in playoffs?
He had only played 2 series.
Great. In 1 year.
Yes.
So annually exposed doesn't make any kind of sense. Now, he's played 12 games total in playoffs so far. 2 seasons. His stat lines are as follows. 17, 14, and 9. 24, 8, and 9. 19, 7, and 12. 17, 10, and 13. 15, 6, and 10. 18, 6, and 7. 1, 7, and 5. We all know that day. 16, 8, and 8. 19, 5, and 3.
Let's gloss over
18, 6, and 8. 9, 3, and 7. 18, 12, and 10. Annually exposed? I don't think so.
Well, and look, Marc said it.
Kyle Lowry didn't have a single point in their first game.
Marc said it, and he's right on. Whoever was the source.
Markelle Fultz.
Whoever was actually the source.
Markelle Fultz. I am holding firm that this is Markelle Fultz. Orlando? Are you kidding me? Partying in Orlando? Annually exposed in the playoffs? Markelle Fultz.
Okay. Whoever was the source. You want to say it again, please?
You
Please
turned my
again.
mic off, didn't you?
No, it's on. I can hear you. Go ahead, say it again.
No, because you're going to click a button. See? Didn't even make sense.
Just wanted you to hear that.
It was Markelle Fultz.
Oh, my God.
Anyway.
Had an axe to grind with Ben Simmons.
Markelle Fultz.
I'm trying to stop.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm trying to stop. Okay, I just had to stop it.
Get your point out.
Yeah. You yell at me for cutting you off. You cut me off.
You cut me off every single time I try to talk today.
Every time I try to talk, you cut me off. Anyway.
Just enhance it.
Now I'm back. Had an axe to grind. Look, I'm not saying that Chris Sheridan didn't hear this from somebody, but it was very shoddy reporting. Okay, you're going to tell me that Joel Embiid and Bruce Bowen were in each other's face. You're going to tell me that, like I said, the Simmons partying thing, I don't care. Because if he's the first player to ever miss a game for being hungover, I would be astonished in the NBA. You are going to bring up the AI years and we're going to talk to Bob Cooney about this. No one is there from then. No one. It's over. Although I had not heard back from Bob on the second confirmation, so we'll have to wait and see.
Oh boy.
As he was having some phone issues. I love the old source on condition of anonymity.
Markelle Fultz, because he's soft.
Shut up.
Softer
Did you try
than soft serve ice cream?
Did you try and corroborate this story with Elton Brand? With Brett Brown.
Probably not.
With Ben Simmons.
And that's the thing that I had the problem with the Joe Santoliquito article. He just threw it out there and didn't give Carson Wentz a chance to comment, respond.
But like
give him a chance to defend himself.
He at least called and then said, oh, they didn't call me back, and that was it. But he called like the lawyer or whatever. This guy, I think, just asked the team. But you know what? And someone said it. If he's covering the Nets, very easy to talk to Brett Brown or Ben Simmons, isn't it? Yeah. Very easy to call the Sixers, say, can I talk to Elton Brand?
I just think...
Wait a minute, hold on. He talks about himself as, I've been doing this for a lot of years. I'm Chris Sheridan. Well, then don't you have clout to talk to these people one-on-one? Why wouldn't you do it if you're so hell-bent on it being true? Instead, you put lines like, Nets clearly have a puncher's chance, and all this other crap in there. And you got the information prior to Game 2. You didn't run it till after Game 2.
Right.
Why?
So, and here's the reporting that I have a problem with, that reminded me of the Joe Santoliquito article when he took shots at, the Carson Wentz when he gave him the all shucksy, whatever, that whole thing. It says Simmons bounced back with a triple-double in Game 2, and Embiid had 23 points and 10 rebounds in just 21 minutes, as the degree to which Jarrett Allen was overmatched was on display for everyone to see. Yes, the Nets love Ed Davis, but when you're playing a backup power forward as your default backup center, that mismatch is going to be exploited. The blame for that one falls on Sean Marks, who could have traded Kenneth Faried for a legit backup center such as Enes Kanter back when he had the chance. Instead, Faried was waived and has been doing big things for the Houston Rockets. But back to the Sixers. Ever wonder why Simmons is such a poor free throw shooter? It's because he doesn't bend his knees. Countless coaches have tried to tell Simmons that bending his knees would solve his problems, but he refuses to listen. The same thing happened with Iverson, and Brown is now happening, blah, 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 blah. Do you see how that jumps?
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't have any other place to be like, oh, and I noticed this with his free throws.
There's too
He's
much...
improved his free throws. Do you want to know how? Because I know basketball, and I know what this means. Anyone who knows basketball will be able to do this. If you look at Ben Simmons' free throws from last year to this year, he doesn't really bend his knees. He's also 6'10" and has enough arm power to get them. I mean, they go in. It's gotten better. It's still not great, but it's gotten better. Great. He's shooting from here up at his head instead of shooting from his chin. So he's not shooting this weird line drive.
You want to know what I think
situation.
The problem is?
He still needs to bend his knees and do it. What?
I think he's right-handed.
Okay, that's a different argument. But like the bending his knees, like come on, dude.
Somebody brought up one of my good friends who has been on this for 2 years. Literally said, "You tell me he's not right-handed. He drove hard to the left side of the rim. Could have just went up like this, turned it into his right hand to make it a more difficult shot." I listen. I'm sure. I know. I see what you're saying, and he's definitely gotten better. He probably wants to look into that whole being right-handed thing. Just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, but either way, that was clearly it just rambled on to finish it out.
I'm gonna punch the Phillies bullpen in the face today.
Oh God, they losing now?
No, it was 3-1.
Now it's 3-3.
Now it's 3-2. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Hector Neris is now in the game.
Great.
He just hit a man to make it bases loaded, and it's 2-1. I don't know what he's doing. Just get this game over with. Okay, it's frustrating me, that's all.
Oh, Hector.
Mm-hmm. Hector Neris, Adam Morgan. They're going to ruin a gem from Jake Arrieta.
That's a shame.
All right, it's strike 2. 2-2.
Yeah, you know who else was one strike away?
Why? Can't you wait till they get the out?
No.
Before saying that, why? Oh my God, Jess.
So we can transition to the Phillies now if you'd like, based on that.
I guess we've kind of, and
to sum up,
if we do get Bob Cooney on, we'll obviously talk to him a little bit more from the journalistic side of things, and what he saw out of this.
We'll take a nice gentleman's sweep of the series.
He was very critical. Oh, he's okay. I'm going to need the cord because he's going to ask for us to call him. No.
Oh wait, you need the.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
Oh, I need that too. So yeah, Jess.
Yeah, gentleman's sweep.
I'm trying to handle this right now.
Gentleman's sweep. They'll come back, win it in 5. Maybe we'll get lucky and the Magic will beat the Raptors.
Did you see what happened last night?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, their Magic.
I'm sorry.
Ain't beating the Raptors.
I was busy last night, and then I came home and went to bed.
What were you busy doing, Jess?
Sitting in the press box for the Phillies game because I'm legit.
All right, I have to turn my mic off.
Okay.
This is what happens when you're a new show. You got to do what you got to do to make this stuff work. So
we got to make sure we can get Bob Cooney all situated.
But
yeah, I just think that it was an extreme overreaction with Ben Simmons. The kid's going to be here for a long time. He's made it very clear that he loves playing here. You're an idiot if you think they should trade him. It's stupid beyond all reason. And I just think that, you need to give him time. You have to give him time to grow. We gave Joel the time to grow. The league's given Giannis the time to grow. LeBron the time to grow. They gave Magic the time to grow back, when he was in the league. Giannis didn't have a jump shot until, this last season and this most recent season and last season. And now he's an MVP caliber candidate, but he's been in the league for 5 years. He was nowhere near where he is now when he started. And I just think it's unfair to, just expect a 22-year-old to hit their full potential. Let me just ask any adults out there, did you hit your full potential at 22 in anything you did? Because I know I didn't. I'm 23 and I have not hit my full potential at anything ever. So
let's see. I'm 30,
answer me that question.
I'll be 35.
And then we can talk.
I'll be 35, and no, I have not hit my full potential. All right.
So shut up, idiots.
Wow. Phillies win.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see something.
Love that. Talk again. That's a lot of pressure. That was weird.
Sales call.
Hate
Sales
that.
call.
Hate that. But
it was a very similar number to the one I've been given, so we're gonna wait here. But all right. So the Phillies did win. They win 3-2. That brings their record to what on the year? Come on.
12-6.
12-6. Is that what they are?
I think so.
Regardless, it's much better than
11-6.
11-6. It's much better than what it's been in the past. Wow, it was a strikeout swinging. Good job, Hector Neris. So the Phillies get it done. They take 2 out of 3, or is this a 4-game series?
No, it's 3.
2 out of 3 for the Mets.
I think yeah.
Yeah, and then they have who's coming in? Minnesota. Is this the Twins weekend?
I think so.
But it's weird because
then the Marlins
they don't have
come
it
in next week.
So then they're going to play. Then they got to have a 2-game series prior to Minnesota because they don't have a day off. This was the start.
17-day.
17-day.
Well, it started against the Marlins. It was
Right.
a 17-day.
Right. I'm going to click on them and
deal.
try and get their roster or their schedule here.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, and it was unfortunate because in the they had 2 games and then their next.
No, wait a minute.
2.
They already played Minnesota. What the hell am I talking about?
Did they?
Yeah, they played them. They took 2 or 3. They took the end games. So now what they have is they just beat the Mets. They go 4 against the Rockies.
Oh, that's what it was. Is it here? Or that's when
they're out at Colorado. Then it's 3 at New York. Then they come home for 4 against the Marlins. And then they get a day off before they play 2 against Detroit, 3 Washington, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Down the line.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It was just unfortunate for them. They had 2 back-to-back extra inning games. That was brutal.
They really beat up their bullpen. And a
it
couple
was great
of those,
that they got out to a hot start yesterday early because they were able to.
Yeah, you were able to rest a little bit. You were able to let a guy like Eichhoff pitch 4 innings to give some of those other arms a break.
Right.
Which I'm sure because now you have Tommy Hunter on the 60-day injured report.
Yep.
David Robertson was only on a 10-day injury report. Now, the question going to be, Segura's not going to go on the injury report, they said today.
Yeah.
When he comes back, what do they do? Are they going to keep playing Hernandez? I mean, how do you put Kingery out of the lineup right now?
I really just think that they're hoping they can get somebody to bite and trade for Cesar. That's the only reason he's there. But Odubel also got hurt today. Did you see that? He pulled up. He might have done like a hammy or something. So you might move around a little bit to put.
Is Scotty going to go out there?
Probably not. They would move it around to. They might put Reese back out there, which I hope they wouldn't do.
No.
But that's I'm just trying to think.
I had to play the soundbite again.
That's what I'm just trying to think. Like, would they put him out there, put Michael at first, and then move Scott to third? If Gene comes back quickly.
I don't.
Jeans, denim, if you will. Denim Segura. That's what Joe keeps calling him, and it makes me laugh every time.
Oh my God, Joe, you're better. you're better than that, Joe.
Who was that? Denim? I said, what? He was like, jeans.
I can't.
I was like, what?
I can't.
And then I couldn't stop laughing, and I was like, well, this is fun.
Oh my God. All right. But look, the Phillies are what's been nice, and I think what we have to enjoy about this team is that it's not always the same guy. Yeah. There's been nights where Real Muto's been the guy. There's been nights where Segura was the guy. McCutch.
There's nights
Harper.
when all of them are.
There's nights when everybody hits. Remember the everybody hits guy back in the day?
That's what I said in my preview article of the season was the fact that you don't have to always rely on the same person. which I think is great. Because and I think that's why Reese has been playing so well, why Michael has been playing so well. Like, there's not as much pressure on everybody anymore. Everyone can just play
Look at Michael.
baseball.
He hit another one last night. He is just down there living a dream.
And he was furious at himself when he struck out the last time.
Yeah.
Furious.
He is just living the dream in the 8-hole.
Yeah.
I mean, you have an 8-hole power hitter. Who
says that? Who does that?
It's unbelievable.
When does that happen? It doesn't.
And, what it's done is it's changed. Okay. I'm going to be calling Bob here in a minute. It's changed how Gabe Kapler's managed. You've had the same lineup. You're just giving guys days off when they need it. It's changed the mentality, the spirit in that clubhouse. Huh?
I said, all right, Brett Brown.
You know what?
Somehow everything comes back to the spirit of something with Brett Brown. I just think it's funny. It comes in every time. You see a quote and you're like, yeah, that's from Brett Brown.
I'm going to walk away now. You need to talk.
Okay, I'm going to talk. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just really great that, we talked about it. The Phillies don't have to rely on the same person. But before we keep going with that, we're going to keep going with the Sixers a little bit as we bring on our second guest of the show.
From 97.5 The Morning Show, and one of the other hosts on there, but a longtime journalist who covered the Sixers. That is Bob Cooney. Bob, thanks for joining us today, man.
Rob, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Well, listen, we wanted to bring you on, obviously, with your background of covering this Sixers team for many years and being around them, and obviously the article that was put out by Chris Sheridan today. And I just want to start off by getting, your thoughts as a journalist on this article.
It's horrible. It's a story that, honest to God, if I were to hand in to any of my editors when I was a writer for 25 years, and I went through five of the greatest sports editors in the country, they would have handed it back to me and said, "Are you serious?" The fact that he compared Ben Simmons to Allen Iverson, seriously? The fact that he made statements about the team, about Elton Brand, about Brett Brown, and didn't try to get in touch with them, according to the story, because he never said they commented on it, is horrible. The whole thing, and I'm not looking at it, I'm looking at it journalistically. I'm not looking at it as, a Sixers fan or anything like that. I'm looking at it as someone that was in the business for 25 years, and I would never have handed in a story like that.
So when you've spent a lot of time around the team and, listening to you this morning, you said even this year, as the team was changing and you made some efforts to make sure you were there, see some of the practices. Tell us what you've seen from your perspective, after covering the team for years and based on this year, from the players being, receptive and responsive to Brett Brown, or, do you think there's any sort of truth to what they were saying about him losing the locker room even before Tobias Harris even got here?
Yeah, no, the one thing about Brett Brown, and it's almost a fault when I was covering the team, was that he's very, very close to the players. The players love him. He's one of those guys that they wanted to play for. And look, that could change. And I'm not one to say it couldn't change or hasn't changed. I don't cover the team on a daily basis anymore. But a great point was made by Marc Farzetta, who I'm on the morning show with. The players all came out after Game 2 against the Nets and said that Brett Brown lambasted them at halftime, yelled at them, called them out basically, and they responded. If you've lost the locker room, are you doing that as a team? No. If a coach yells at you and you don't care about him anymore, he's lost the locker room, are you coming out and responding like that? Are you playing harder? Are you doing schematically the new things that Brett Brown implemented for Game 2? Which we all saw, the non-switching on pick and rolls, the way they attacked Brooklyn offensively. Are you doing those things if you've tuned your coach out? No, you're not. So that's the proof right there. I mean, it's ridiculous for him to write that. And if someone's going to write that somebody lost the locker room, which is the most damning thing you could say about a coach, well, you better be around that team every day. And this guy isn't.
Bob, you talked about them comparing Ben Simmons to Allen Iverson, which is just a ludicrous comparison. But he also talked about how this organization as a whole has, always allowed their players to kind of get away with this. How irrelevant of a comment is that, seeing as though the whole organization is different from that time period?
Oh, I said that this morning. It's exactly it. He said, I think his line was something, I'm paraphrasing obviously, was Ben Simmons is doing this and the Sixers know what it's like because they went through with it with Allen Iverson and Larry Brown. Are you serious? First of all, Sixers organization, there is no higher ups here that was here at all during the Allen Iverson, Larry Brown saga. So to compare that is ridiculous. Second of all, after I read the story, I made a couple phone calls to people on the inside of the Sixers who were here when Iverson was here. Not to bash Iverson or anything like that, but just to say, what was it like when he was here? Was it as crazy as been let on or whatever? And to a word, it was, yeah, it was crazy. Every day was a crapshoot. You didn't know if he was showing up for practice games, if he was going to be late, whatever it may be. That was just Allen Iverson. To compare Ben Simmons to Allen Iverson, one person said ludicrous, the other one said laughable.
So, you were also saying this morning, carrying on from that about the players, being in the facility and Brett Brown making it a point, at this new facility in Camden that would be open at all hours for the players to get in there, whenever they felt like they needed to be in there. What have you seen on that side from Ben Simmons? It's been the narrative that's been written lately is that, he doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to try. He hasn't done anything to improve his game. And then this article comes out, which kind of, tries to back up that narrative that's being pushed. What has Ben like on the inside? Is he taking advantage of that? Is he putting in the effort? As a giant Ben Simmons supporter, can't see in a world where he doesn't. But, what are your thoughts there?
I don't think the narrative has been that he doesn't work hard. I think the narrative has been that he hasn't improved. I hear what you're saying. Like, people see him out in L.A. during the off season.
Right.
So what? You see him riding a bike? You see him out to dinner? What's that mean? Are you supposed to be nonstop 16 hours of your waking day in a gym like that? That's ridiculous to me. I love when people on the outside put out that narrative, as you say, that, he's spending time with Kendall Jenner. Oh, yeah? Okay. Other guys have wives and children who they spend time with. There's nothing wrong with that. Ben Simmons, yes, he needs to improve his jump shot. He needs to improve how he shoots a basketball. There's no question about it. But to come out and say that he's not putting in the work, that's just somebody that's not doing their homework. I mean, I've seen it. I just made a reference today on our show was that I went to a game last week and I get there early. I got there like 4:00. I just was walking around the arena. I look out on the floor. I hear a ball dribbling, and it's Ben Simmons out there shooting and taking foul shots and all that stuff. I've never heard one word from anybody saying that they have to push that kid to work harder. I don't know where that comes from, and it's irresponsible, quite frankly, what that guy wrote.
We're talking with Bob Cooney from 97.5, the Fanatic Morning Show. And, Bob, the other guy is he talked about Elton Brand basically demanding a discussion of a trade for Ben Simmons at the trade deadline that you've known Elton Brand for a long time. Is there anything about him that makes it seem like in his first 6 months on the job, he's going to go to management and say, hey, Ben Simmons isn't coachable. We got to talk about maybe trading him?
I don't think it came out that way. Sure. Do I think maybe Elton Brand went there and said, hey, should we think about trading Ben Simmons? What could we get for him? Could we improve the team in a different way? Are we sure he's that's a GM's job, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't think he went in with the narrative, and I've talked to Elton many, many times. He loves the makeup of this team. But so I'll just defend. I would bet money that Elton didn't do that. But I will go to the other way and also say, well, it's incumbent upon Elton to go to ownership or whoever it is and say, hey, should I explore some things? Teams are offering this and that for Ben Simmons. Should I explore it? And them saying, and he says, maybe I'm crazy, something like that. And them saying, no, you know what? Let's stick with what we have. Yeah, I could absolutely see that happening. But no, I do not believe that Elton Brand said we have to trade this guy because he's not coachable because he doesn't bend his knees on foul shots.
So, the series is tied 1-1. A lot of criticism on Ben after game one, a lot of support for Ben after game two. Then there's this article kind of thrown into the mix to, add some extra drama. Where do you see the team going from here? How do you see, game three playing out tomorrow night? Do you think this impacts them at all, or do you think that they're laser focused and they take care of business finishing out this season?
Yeah, I don't think this hurts them at all. I think it helps them. If anything, they gather together and say, oh, my God, how ridiculous is this? Look, the Sixers can win the next 3 games of this series and close it out if they play with the passion that they played with the other night. And if they do that, they're just simply more talented. They're a better team. At every position, they're better. So if they come out with that, I think it's a no-brainer, and you kind of laugh this article off. I just think this article was absolutely ridiculous. It was not only I'm not even saying it from a point, like I said, I can't reiterate this enough. I'm saying it from a journalistic point. I am not saying it from a Sixers fan, Sixers analyst, whatever it may be. It was just ridiculous the way it was written, and I think the Sixers will look at it as such, and if anything, use it as motivation moving forward.
Hey, Bob, let me ask you, because you've been in the field, and obviously people...
I hate to say this to you guys, but this has to be the last one because my phone's about to die.
Absolutely is. My only question for you is, being in the journalistic field, what drives a writer to go about this the way that Chris Sheridan did? What drives a writer to write this piece?
No idea. And quite frankly, it pisses me off because as someone that was in the field whose stories got questioned through the years, although you're checking facts and you're doing all that, and for the writers that are still out there that are still working hard to be good journalists, I don't know what entices him to write this. And quite frankly, it's the most irresponsible piece I've read in a long time.
Well, Bob Cooney, thank you so much for your time today, man. And we'll definitely have you on again. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. That's Bob Cooney, as it sounds like his phone literally died in the minute of him saying we appreciated it. But look, this was one of the reasons I wanted to have him. Yeah. This was one of the reasons I wanted to have him on because you just knocked your camera. I can't wait to watch it happen on there.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait. Is it happening? No, it hasn't happened yet. But
it'll happen. His
passion, his frustration as a journalist with what he read. You know what I mean? He's pissed off. I mean, look, Bob Cooney, everyone talks about, he always has the same mentality going. He's showing emotion right now. He was not happy. Here we go. It's going to happen.
Here it comes. There it goes. I caught it.
You did catch it. And that's why I wanted to get him on because you could tell how pissed off he was. And it makes me, now look, everyone's going to say, oh, well, of course. No, Bob Cooney wrote for 25 years.
Bob Cooney knows his stuff when it comes to the Sixers. Okay? I love listening to Bob Cooney talk about
And he's not lying. The Philadelphia Daily News had 5 of the best sports editors to ever be a sports editor in this country. And they would have never have allowed this because it was so just poorly written, poorly done, irresponsibly done.
Irresponsible is a good word.
And he brought it up. How do you not go ask Ben Joel and Brett Brown and Elton Brand for a comment if you're going to put their name out there like that?
And even if they did, I think it's irresponsible not to say we reached out for comment and didn't get an answer. But I don't think there was any time because he was working on this article. Game 2 happened and he hit send.
Yeah, he said he got more information yesterday. That's why he didn't put it out right away. Okay, dude. So, I mean, I think we can move on from that. We're into the final 40 of the show. We're going to be getting a call from our friend Patrick soon.
Yep. Oops, I just hit a button.
What you do?
Oh, it didn't. It's okay. It wasn't playing music, so I hit a video by accident.
Do you want me to play that stupid music again?
Yeah, I want you to turn it on so I can play the
Does it always have to be Jimmy Buffett?
Yes. Unless you have a better option of music that...
how about anything?
No. So no, you don't have a better option. Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things that like the Joe Santoliquito crap, I want to just toss to the side and punch the guy in the face probably.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Chris Sheridan has a lot more, so we'll see what happens with that a lot more that he has. The joke of a man.
Yeah. I'm not excited.
So do we go into some Eagles talk?
I mean, we can, yeah, man.
I mean, could you believe, and I said it to Marc, do you believe it's a week to the draft and no one's even really like discussing it? It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like you even said you wrote an article on it, but you did it almost to get yourself back into that groove.
Like I literally wrote the article to be like, okay, this is what I need to prepare myself for the next week.
Yeah.
This is what I have to pay attention to. Just because, so I think it's an informative article because there's so many players obviously coming out into the draft. So many different links being passed about who's connected to who likes who where. I just wanted to compile a list. It doesn't even really give any descriptions of, the players themselves, but just to compile, who the Eagles have met with for their pre-draft visits. Now, obviously, pre-draft visits, they can mean things and they can't mean things. Traditionally, they were conducted when there was a question about the team might answer questions teams might have about, character issues, personality issues, compatibility issues with the locker room, i.e. a Darius Geis or something like that. However, I think for a team like the Eagles, I think they put such a strong emphasis on culture in the locker room that they just want to get to know these guys on a little bit deeper of a level that's maybe a little bit out of the football world, when they meet with them at the combine and things like that, do Senior Bowl, college pro days. It's purely a football discussion. I think bringing them in here allows them to explore the person a little bit more than just the football player and ensure that there would be a good fit here, because we know the Eagles place a big emphasis on that, and they've worked very hard to develop the culture that they now have. So people say that these visits don't really matter. I think in the case of the Eagles, they do matter a little bit more. For that reason. So there's a list of, how many? 5 running backs that they've met with.
Well, let's do that. Let's just name a couple from each of the positions that you have. They're just the ones that maybe you've heard talked about. What I've pulled up was a roundup as of 4 days ago of mock drafts for the Eagles, so we can even touch on that. Guys that maybe we know a little bit about or we've heard about.
So guys that they've brought in that they really like. Josh Jacobs, obviously they really like. They also like the kid from Michigan, Karan Higdon. And then they brought in a couple wide receivers. I really don't see them drafting a wide receiver.
There's been a lot of talk about that. Guys, almost here's what could happen, and here's why I think there's a lot of talk. Obviously, right now, it's a big price tag for Nelson Aguilar, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's not a huge price tag, but when you talk about all the money they have going to the wide receiver position, it's a big.
They're not the Giants.
No. Jeez, that was ridiculous. So the thought process is, does a trade come their way where someone asks them for Aguilar, gives them lets them to move up and around, and what they do is they replace an Aguilar with a draft pick, with a guy that they put under contract for the next 5 years at a small number. And I think that's where a lot of that, because the Eagles are always open to making a move.
Oh, yeah.
And if someone comes for the right deal for Nelson Aguilar, they might say, well, actually, we could draft so-and-so. Who's the guy from Oklahoma? Is he on that list?
No.
Brown or something like that? I can't remember.
No.
Who are the wide receivers?
A.J. Brown from Ole Miss.
No. Who were the wide receivers they brought in?
N'Keal Harry from Arizona State, A.J. Brown from Ole Miss, Paris Campbell from Ohio State, Jalen Hurd from Baylor, McCole Hardman from Georgia, and Deontay Johnson from Toledo.
Who was the one? I got to look for the Oklahoma wide receiver. But that's why I think that some wide receivers are being brought up. The thought that Eagles make a move, they trade Nelson Aguilar on draft day, and they need to they want to put a rookie in that position, or just draft somebody in case Mac Hollins doesn't work out.
Mac
because
Hollins is
he's
still not alive.
We don't know where he is.
Not anywhere existent. Offensive lineman, apparently Jeff Stoutland is like pounding the table for Titus Howard. They brought him in. He's been here. A kid from Villanova they brought in.
Marquise Brown, that's who I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. And then D lineman, they brought in a whole slew of them. Montez Sweat, Ed Oliver from Houston, LJ Collier.
Which, by the way, Montez Sweat, Ed Oliver, the only way you're getting them is if you get into the top 15.
Yeah. I'm not even going to attempt O'Shane something from Old Dominion. I'm not even going to attempt that one. Jalen Ferguson from Louisiana Tech, Tristan Hill from Central Florida, Jerry Tillery from Notre Dame, Christian Wilkins.
I've seen Tillery pop up a few times.
Christian Wilkins, Rashawn Gary, and Dexter Lawrence.
See, now Christian Wilkins is a guy I would love. I just don't know if he falls to 25 at this point.
Christian Wilkins. I don't think he would. But LJ Collier is a guy that's flying under the radar that they're really high on.
Where's he from?
He is from TCU, and they love them some TCU guys at the Eagles. And he had 6 sacks, 39 hurries, and 10 quarterback hits in 2018.
Yeah, you know, it's. Look, I said this a few weeks ago. I'm going to stick to this. If the Eagles stand pat, and that's a big if because they love to trade back. I think it's offensive, defensive lineman, and I think because of where they are, it'll probably be a defensive lineman first with them going offensive lineman second round, going after the kid from Alabama State that you mentioned. I know a lot of people actually I've seen mocked to them in the second round a couple times. Kajuste, somebody from offensive tackle from West Virginia, as a guy that they thought could be the heir apparent. They didn't bring him in for a visit on your list. I remember reading that. See, I read your stuff, Jess.
Proud of you. They didn't.
But Virginia
probably helped you prepare too.
Oh, it did.
They also only brought in 3 corners out of 30 visits.
Yeah, but
so
still,
they're
so many
not
people think they're
drafting a
Yodny Kajuste. That's the name I'm talking about. Yodny Kajuste.
And then 3 safeties as well.
They could go safety. If remember how they do it, right? Their board is if the best player on their board is
there.
Webb, what's his name from Florida? Weber, right? Is it Weber?
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, that too. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Thornhill from Virginia.
And Darnell Savage from Maryland.
And Darnell Savage, I don't think he'd be a first round. I think, I think the kid from Florida is probably your 1 first round pick. If he's there, all your defensive linemen that you had ranked ahead of him are gone. Offensive linemen, then I wouldn't be surprised because Rodney McLeod's coming back off an injury. How's he going to handle it? Malcolm Jenkins isn't getting any younger.
Did you see me hit myself in the face with the
Did you see yourself in the phone? Wow.
I just hit myself. I'm trying to make this microphone stay, and it just doesn't like me today.
You're having a tough time.
I am, but it's fine. I'll make it work.
You'll make it work.
We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out for the next half hour.
Oh my. Yeah, that's all we need. That's all we need. Is that really all it is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun. What a day it's been.
What a day it has been.
All right, so here's a couple. So the Draft Network Simulator has the Eagles taking offensive tackle Jonah Williams from Alabama, but this said that they don't actually think he'll be there on draft night. There's buzz of him going the top 10. So if you were to get him at 20.
I think the guys that they have brought in for visits are guys they realistically see themselves being able to get at 25, quite honestly.
Not Oliver and Sweat. You're not going to get either one. Ed Oliver's going to be a top.
There's also been rumors about them trading up.
Yeah, it'll depend on.
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah. No one really knows what they're going to do.
If they trade up and get Ed Oliver, I will be thrilled because that man is just a beast of a human being.
Yeah.
He was a guy at Houston. I don't know if you saw it last year. Who I forget why he got suspended for a game for something, and was wearing the team jacket. And the coach came over and said, "No, that's only for guys in uniform." And he snapped. But on the field, he was a damn good player. Let's see. Dexter Lawrence's name keeps coming up, but I think he's more of a run-stuffing D tackle. And maybe they do get him because there is no more Haloti Ngata.
Right.
Obviously, Jernigan's gone. Maybe they take a shot at a guy like Dexter Lawrence. The other name I've seen pop up a couple times is Cleveland Ferrell, defensive end from Clemson. But I don't know if he's someone that might go a little bit earlier. I'm seeing a couple guards pop up now, a couple corners. So like this summer he has Dexter Lawrence twice, guard from Boston College, Chris Lindstrom twice, safety Jonathan Abram twice. That's a good kid from Mississippi State. Then they have a corner. I refuse to even bring up corners.
No.
I refuse to even bring it up. It's not going to happen.
We're not talking about corners. Speaking of corners, can we talk about Jalen Mills for a hot sec?
Yeah, let's do it.
I loved that. I enjoyed that greatly.
Why did you enjoy greatly, though?
Because he beat the hell out of a man.
Yeah, but it sounds like there was really no fight.
A foot taller. He put him in the hospital. He was in the hospital. He was a foot taller than him, and Jalen's still in a walking boot.
And apparently it was all because the guy from Washington didn't know why he was down there being from Philadelphia.
Or not playing for a team there. Can we talk about a dumber reason, please?
Well, it's Washington.
Meanwhile, did you see Jalen posted an apology on Instagram?
And did you see what Camus Grugier-Hill?
Camus Grugier-Hill said, nah, who wants next? The Cowboys? And I died. Camus wants all of the smoke with the Cowboys. And I am here for it. Here for it.
Apparently.
Because Dak sucks. So much.
Yeah, we both had to deal with that idiot that
when
went on
you
there.
don't have to come off a back injury, I'm sorry that your quarterback doesn't have to worry about it because he'll never have to carry the team on his back because they can't rely on it.
Your quarterback has done nothing and he stinks. All right, so who's this? This is for the Eagles? Yeah. So here's another couple things. So NFL.com, Charlie Casserly has the Eagles trading up to 22 to pick Greg Little, offensive tackle from Mississippi State. No, from Mississippi. CBS Sports going with Juan Thornhill. Charles Davis has him picking Devin Bush. There is no way Devin
Bush makes it there,
Yeah.
I'll celebrate.
I think Bush is a first-round pick, and if he's there at 20... Now, obviously, Charles Davis did this a long time ago. Jeffrey Simmons, Mississippi State. This is the Cleveland Farrell guy from Clemson. A lot of people are saying they'll think he'll be long gone, but if he's there, obviously you run the pick in. And then who's this? Someone has him trading out of the first round. You have to talk about that with the Eagles. The Eagles love to trade out of the first round.
I don't know if they're going to trade out of the first round this year, though. I don't really see them leaving the first round and not taking somebody with them.
Well, there's no reason to when you already have 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
You can't be that much against. You talked about how deep the offensive and defensive lines are. There's got to be someone at 25 you're going to want.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's just the way I
don't
think
see
about
them
it.
trading out of the first round this year.
I hope not.
I don't see that happening, quite honestly.
All right.
It doesn't make any sort of sense.
You know what
to
I
me.
haven't done it all show because we've been so busy?
What?
This is The Madness, brought to you by ProSportsNotes.com, powered by
That is true.
WildfireRadio.com. Catch us on Wildfire Radio every Friday morning, even Good Friday, this week, 9 to 11 a.m.
On your way to and from church?
Yes, because you all should be going to church. Did that come off like totally?
Yeah, a little.
That's
Catholic
bad.
school teacher over here.
That's bad. That's bad right there. Follow us on Twitter at Philly_Madness, at Run This Town with an E13. You can follow us on Instagram at Philly_Madness. What else? Shop.prosportsnotes.com.
35% off
35%
sale
off.
today.
You can get what Jess has. You can get what I have right here.
And others.
The stupid money and others. A lot of other stuff going on there. So get over there, support the show. Draft party a week from tomorrow, Thursday, April 25th, 5 to 7, Wells Fargo lot. We'll have food, drinks, popsicles,
music,
maybe
games.
some giveaways, music, games. We'll have a good party. Let us know if you could come so we have an idea. That would be great.
If you're planning on coming. Or just even stopping by. We're just trying to make sure we have enough beverages for everybody.
Yeah, we want to make sure we have
enough buffalo chicken dip.
Plenty of beverages and snacks for everybody. So come on by and then come to Xfinity Live with us afterwards to watch the draft, watch the Phils. Hopefully not Game 6 because the Sixers have wrapped up the Nets series in 5. But maybe Sixers-Nets Game 6. It'll be a good time. So I know that we are expecting a call in a couple minutes from our friend from our friend at Villanova, but
he's in Florida.
Jess is going to give us a surprise that he is actually in Florida.
He's in Florida
to give us today's stupid Florida news.
I told him to avoid the Florida man, whoever, but he does. You never know what
you don't
who the Florida man's going to be.
I read something about a Florida man that was going to school to be a wrestler and decided to try out his wrestling moves on an alligator.
Oh, you're going to ruin one of Patrick's things now.
That wasn't it, was it really?
Yeah, it was. You're the worst. Why do you do this? Why do you open your mouth? Literally, why do you open your mouth?
No, how that happened.
You can't just pick a story because you never know.
There's 150 stories a day.
No. See, this is the second time you've done it. Stop it.
I didn't do it the last time.
No, you've done it before, though. You ruined it.
We've only had 2 weeks of this. I've never done it before.
That's not true.
Oh, here we go. Here's the latest from Chris.
Oh, God.
No, this was a few. Oh, no. Never mind.
Jesus.
I thought there was more coming from our friend Chris Sheridan. I do keep. You know what? It does work. I keep checking his Twitter to see what stupid thing he's going to say next. That's like, did you ever see the movie? Well, you didn't because you were about 4. But there was a movie about the life of Howard Stern. Did you ever see it? No. Private Parts?
No.
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But right now,
give me my music.
From Florida. Oh, I got to play your music too.
Yeah, turn the volume up, man.
Okay. There, the music's up, all right? Patrick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Patrick, have you avoided the Florida man?
Yeah, most of them.
Have you... I know you're going to give us some news stories, but do you have any personal viewing stories that you've seen of ridiculousness that can be shared on the air?
No, I've only been in Florida for like about an hour, so there hasn't been that much craziness. But,
I mean, normally you see 5 or 6 things, I feel like. What part of Florida are you in, Patrick?
we flew into Tampa, and we're in Treasure Island.
Oh, you're going to run into something soon. I can't
Yeah, I'm
imagine.
sure I will.
I can't
We're here
imagine
for like
anymore.
the week, so I'll definitely be taking some notes.
That's what I like to hear. Well, Patrick, Jess is mad at me because apparently I already ruined one of your
He
stories.
did.
I just
Is
brought
it Robert Kraft?
No, I didn't even ruin that one.
Not that one.
I ruined one that I happened to pop up on my Twitter feed earlier today. But I want you to tell the whole story. All I could say is it has to do with wrestling. So if you want to go into that story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, Patrick's not even mad at me, by the way.
I was mad about it.
All right.
Wait, so you saw this earlier?
Yes.
I was texting Jesse, and I was like, I was kind of busy this week, wasn't able to look stuff up. Let me try real quick, and it was like right there.
So please enlighten our guests. What is going on in Florida this week?
So a Florida teenager was arrested after being filmed wrestling a fake alligator at a mall.
Fake alligator at a mall. What even is that?
Listen. Why? I don't understand why you would do that.
In the article that I'm looking at, it says that the alligator was valued at $3,690.
Wait.
The fake alligator was $690.
Yeah, I'm watching the video.
Is it a stuffed alligator? Like, is it real alligator skin? Like, what is that?
It looks like it's a plastic alligator. So he jumps over a railing, throws the alligator into the water from a rock, and then goes to pile drive it.
Oh my God, what possesses you to do that? All right, Patrick, what else you got?
I have a Florida man uses a squirt gun to shoot urine at a woman and says he'd do it again.
Did they give reason for the shooting?
Yeah, I kind of skimmed through it. I think the woman was walking her dog, and he wasn't too happy that the dog was peeing in his yard.
Got it.
So your dog pisses on my yard. I shoot my piss at you through a water gun.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently that's the process.
It's an eye for an eye. That's what the Bible used to be like, eye for an eye.
The guy that did it was 71 years old.
So not only was that urine, that was 71-year-old urine being shot at a woman because her dog peed on the grass.
The 71-year-old filled up a squirt gun with urine and just started shooting the woman. And
now here's the question.
Again.
Here's the question I have ready. This is where I'm going to throw Jess off. This is where she's going to get super mad at me. Now, how did the urine get into the water gun? Did he pee into a cup and then pour it in? Did he attempt to pee into the water gun? These are details we need to know.
Read the article.
I don't think that the article does not say how he filled the water gun with urine. But
well, Jesus.
So how would Patrick know?
It's kind of left up to your own interpretation.
Yeah, it's the whole imagination and interpretation of the process. But I'm very curious.
All right, figure it out. Do some research.
That's like the old. It would be like the old water gun game on the boardwalk. Gotta get.
Okay, that's enough. You're cut off. You're cut off.
But I think the biggest news, an hour ago, they're going to release the video of Robert Kraft.
Yeah, I'm not very happy about this.
I'm not. He tried to fight the Florida Constitution to release it, and this is the one time I wanted him to win a legal battle.
Yeah, this is going to disgust me. This is going to disgust me. Because you know people are going to post that video on Twitter, and you're going to be skimming, and it's just going to start, and you're going to be like, I can't unsee what I just saw. But at the same time, you're going to be like, but I can't stop watching.
Yikes.
That's what's going to happen.
It's like a car crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, look at this. I got a couple stories I can add to this segment.
Like?
All right, go ahead.
Here's one. This was on from @NowThisNews. A Florida man who breeds the world's most dangerous bird was just killed by one in his own backyard.
Oh, no. Brutal.
Maybe you should not breed that bird anymore.
Don't breed dangerous birds. What kind of bird is it?
According to the Alachua County Sheriff's Office, I'm getting the video. Hajos was attacked by the large bird and taken to a nearby hospital where he later died of the injuries.
It doesn't tell you what kind of bird the most dangerous bird is.
I don't know. It looks freaky as hell, though. The cassowary.
Interesting. I don't know what that is.
Why officials investigate the attack. Cassowaries are large flightless birds similar to emus and are native to Australia and New Guinea. Can stand more than 5 feet tall and weigh up to 167 pounds.
That's more than I weigh.
The San Diego Zoo calls it the most dangerous bird in the world. They have dagger-like claws up to 4 inches long on a 3-toed foot. And they could jump 7 feet in the air. Get him on the Sixers. He could be the backup center for Joel. The Sixers need to make a call.
I don't want to see anything else other than Boban's jumper from a backup center.
Oh, man.
Boban's jumper is smooth. Smooth as anything.
The last story, and by the way, I'm not even looking at articles. I'm just seeing headlines pop up.
Yeah.
Florida woman 65 fends off half-naked burglar with a baseball bat.
I saw that one. I was about to share that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
See, you ruined it.
He didn't have it.
No. I didn't think it was like that great, but yeah, the video with that article is hilarious.
I took a screenshot of the post and I sent it to Patrick the day. It says bat-wielding trio of nude women spark police chase in Florida.
Oh, that's a whole other one. That's
that's a whole other story.
That's a whole different story. This is a Florida woman fends off a half-naked burglar.
It's a grandma too.
Yeah,
Amazing.
She's 65 years old, man. And look at the picture of her holding the bat.
Yes.
She is like, she's got
that's the video. She reenacts.
Let's recall her from AAA.
Yeah, for real. All right. Well, Patrick, you came with some good stuff today, man. We appreciate it. Listen.
You're welcome.
You enjoy Florida. Enjoy your time there, and we'll talk to you when you get back.
Yeah, I'll be sure to bring back some stories.
Please do. Write them down. Yep. All right. Patrick McMahon, everybody. We'll talk to you, Patrick.
All right. Bye.
All right. And another great segment of This Is Florida.
Amazing. Hilarious.
Yo, that bird is freaking me out. It just keeps showing that bird on my screen right now.
I want to see the bird.
I showed you the bird.
You didn't show me the bird. You showed me the old lady with the bat.
Oh, hang on. Well, it's a video, so it keeps coming and going. Alligators hunt. Apparently, it hunts. I don't know. It's freaky.
That's a scary looking bird.
Dude, he's freaky, man.
You're right. That's a scary looking bird.
All right, we should probably go into This Is Madness as we're getting down to the end here. And I know we each have a couple of things to discuss, although I forget both of mine. So This Is Madness. Yeah. All right, go ahead. What's your This Is Madness for today?
So I just think it's funny. Well,
please don't say your madness is Ben Simmons. We've done enough.
No, I've had enough. I can't argue about Ben Simmons anymore. I think I've made my points.
You got a goofy smile, so it's going to be about me. So go ahead.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, it was going to be Robert Kraft trying to change the Florida Constitution.
Oh, my God.
I just don't want to see it. Because then there's going to be memes, and it's going to be like other things they're going to like Photoshop in there instead of a penis to make it funny.
The good old quote
of Twitter. They're going to Photoshop like Tom Brady's head on the chick. Yeah, it's going to be like a mess.
The quote of Twitter remains undefeated will be out and about once this happens. Twitter will remain undefeated because it's going to be. Of course,
it always does.
Memes central.
And it's going to be bad. It's going to be pretty bad. But the other thing, I was telling you about this earlier. I said I didn't get a chance to completely watch the Sixers game on Saturday because I was at my brother's lacrosse game. Mm-hmm. And I was screaming so loudly and seriously and furiously at the refs in a D3 college lacrosse game that I didn't have a voice on Sunday. No voice. None.
Why? Why were you yelling at them?
So F&M lacrosse they've been playing really well this season. They were 4-0 in their conference, and they were playing Ursinus on Saturday. Conference game, if they won, they'd be 5-0, and they would be good to go. They would make playoffs because they would have a winning record in the conference, and they would be, wouldn't have to really, still have to keep winning, obviously, but they wouldn't really have to stress about it. Like, they wouldn't have to play to get in, kind of thing. Like the last game of the season wouldn't be a win or go home kind of thing if that in that situation. So big game. F&M, they come out absolutely firing. Open up a 5-0 lead. I think they were winning by 5 or 6 at halftime. Your goalie making great saves. Offense clicking, defense playing really well. They come out in the second half, and when you know how many sporting events I've watched in my life. This is hands down the most abysmal refereeing job I have ever seen in my 23 years of watching sports. All between pro, college, high school, any
all
sport
levels.
across the board, hands down, I've never seen anything so bad. I never thought I saw anything so bad when the Eagles played the Texans this year. Hands down worse. Easily worse. It was so unbelievably horrible. F&M was 2 men down for the majority of the second half, which is horrible to begin with. And it was, guys from Ursinus in the crease, not called. One of our top 2 offensive players absolutely mauled and tackled and nothing. Sticks to the head, not called. 2-hand pushes on face-offs, not called. A kid from Ursinus trips over his own feet and F&M gets called for it. So the refs had gotten them to, gotten it to was it a 1-score game or was it, I think it might have been tied. There were 30 seconds left and the F&M got a stop. They were trying to clear it. Our best player, one of my brother's roommates, Luke, he was standing under it, literally not moving, waiting for the ball to land in his stick. The Ursinus defender was running to catch up with him because he wasn't near him. Tripped over his own feet. They called it on Luke. All Luke had to do was catch that, run, score, game over, and he would have put the game away easily. Easily would have. That game would have been over. Because they have put 2 people on him and just say tackle him to the ground and they can't stop him. He's so good. He just scored his 100th goal as a sophomore. But he, it was so horrible.
Did they lose because of that?
They lost 16-15 in overtime because they were so the penalty carries over and they don't do a face-off to start off halftime. They keep possession. So Luke was out and they had possession. And they were man down. And so it sucked. But Andrew was so funny. He's been this year, I don't know what happened, but he's been playing with this like aggressive chip on his shoulder, which I love to see. He always, in basketball season, he was the scrappy defender. Like he was just the little guy he was the TJ McConnell on the floor. Like that's what he was. Right. He was that like little gnat, full court, will give you 110% every time he's on the floor. I think my dad's proudest moment of him until Saturday in sports was he bothered when they played Westtown, when it was Mo Bamba, Cam Reddish, Brandon Randolph. He bothered Brandon Randolph to the point where Brandon Randolph 2-hand shoved him in the back and he got the technical called. My dad had never been so proud until that. Like that was his proudest moment of Andrew in sports. Saturday, Andrew's a D-mid, so he was in the huddle with the Ursinus was on the field and they were all standing together talking and Andrew was getting in his spot, but like in their huddle. And one of them gave Andrew a nudge and he didn't back down. The kid took his stick and shoved Andrew. And naturally, Andrew gave it one of these. And they tossed the flag immediately. And Andrew looks over to the F&M bench and is like, giving him one of these. And I look over at my dad, who stands by himself. He doesn't stand with me. He's like this. Like, standing swaying back to back with this little smug smile on his face. And I looked at my grandmother and I was like, look at your son. Look at this smug man standing over there. And then I looked at my grandma and I said, just so you know, the next time your son touches a ball, he's going to get rocked. Oh, yeah. He's going to get, so he, stuck on his man real well, gave him a nice check. Ball popped out with 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Andrew scooped it up, knew it was coming, so passed it right away. Took a shot, gave it an extra one of these, got the penalty called again. He played his hard. I'm screaming, freaking out. The refs are horrible. It was absurd. But yeah, I had no voice the next day, but it was. That's awesome. It was something. He played really well, but it was such a, they all came out and were like, well, that was crap. Like, yeah. And it was just such a bump. Like, it's one thing to get outplayed and be like, all right, that team played better than you. But, to lose that way. It's never easy. Sucks. And the parents from Ursinus were obnoxious. They were like getting into screaming matches with the F&M parents. Like, it was
parents in general and kids,
like siblings were screaming at
parents. Parents are ruining sports.
Yeah.
They really are. I hate to say it. But all right. This isn't even something I'm mad about. It's something, it was maybe the most joyful part of my weekend. It was something that has been a long time coming, and I can't even do its justice So I'm just going to play it instead.
Okay.
They told me, I wouldn't see it again. They told us he couldn't play anymore. They told us his injuries were too much. He was 43 and that he had nothing more to give to the game of golf. And then a vintage Tiger performance on the golf course. And I can see the look Jess is giving. And here's what I'm going to tell you, Jess. Okay? I separate my
I just don't like
players.
Golf. I don't. This is really nothing to do with that. I just couldn't care less about golf. Continue.
But first of all, they moved it up because of the weather in Georgia. So instead of the teeing off and not teeing off till like 1 or 2 o'clock.
Right.
9:15 in the morning, Tigers teeing off in the final grouping on Masters Sunday. And I sat there with golf on the entire morning, laying on the couch, watching. And it was, me and my group, we were all talking about it. It gave us, we were so angry from the day before with the Sixers. It gave us a moment of just pure joy and pure bliss. I grew up when I watch golf, I watch it for one man and one man only. I watch it for Tiger. I love the way he played. He kind of had a different swagger to the game of golf than anybody else, right? Like, yelling and fist pumping, all that stuff nobody was doing. And all we're told about now is, the young guys caught up to Tiger. Well, one by one, I watched young guys get right there and fall. And Tiger just stayed. And it was like you were watching 10 years ago. So for someone who enjoys it, like I understand you don't enjoy it, but for someone who enjoys it, it was pure entertainment. And I mean, it was a blast. And I'm
glad you had a blast.
And I'm so happy that he won. It's an unbelievable story. I know he's not a good human being. People don't like him because of what he did.
I hate him for that, but I don't even. That's not even what I was thinking.
But just the comeback itself.
Yeah, it's impressive, and especially because I know. And
a lot of people said he would never do it.
Right, and I know. I mean, you could. He takes any shot. You see him grab his back, he's done. You know, and I realize that, and I can respect that from being a sports fan and an athlete fan perspective. I just know that Joe had a 7-on-7 game Sunday morning, and he had to be there at 7:45. I went with him. They played. We got back to his house before 10. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to turn the Masters on," and I was like, "Ugh, I'm going to take a nap. I'm exhausted." And I went to sleep. Woke up at 2. And looked at him and I went, this crap is still on. This is not over yet.
It was awesome. It really was. It was absolutely.
No, I mean, his age, the injuries, I get it. Awesome. Golf is like whatever to me. I don't know.
All right, so there's a lot of leaks. Before we leave the show, and I'll start playing our theme music here, there's a lot of leaks of the schedule so far that's coming out tonight to fill out the schedule.
Are any of them actually right, though? Because there was that account that.
No, these are coming from people, look, I'm just giving you what the leaks are. As of right now, Jeff McClain has the Eagles' first 2 games, home against Washington to start the season, at Atlanta for Monday Night Football in Week 2. There's a Week 4 possible Thursday Night Football game at Green Bay. Week 5, it looks like the Jets are coming here. Week 9, the Chicago Bears are coming here. Week 11, the Patriots here. And it looks like the Giants will be Week 14 at home on Monday Night Football, and Week 17 to end the season at New York. I'm not liking this because I really need to see that Miami game fall in an October schedule so I can go and enjoy myself.
I need it. Oh, you said Week 14?
Yeah.
Giants?
Yeah.
Dang it!
That's December 9th.
I know. That's the week I wanted it to be in Miami because I'll already be there. I want to see if I could extend it.
I get it. But listen, it's a great show. Thank you to Marc, Farzetta, Bob Cooney. Thank you for the great and talented Jessica Town. All of her articles, they brought a lot to the show. We'll be back next week, the day before the draft. Get ready for the draft party.
Woo!
Embrace the madness, everybody. Have a great week.